Please subscribe to my channel and do hit the bell icon. Hello to all dear students. In this video, we'll be discussing about the last topic of our chapter, dosage adjustment in renal and hepatic disease. Okay, so today we'll be discussing about dosage consideration in hepatic disease. In my previous video, we had discussed about the various pharmacokinetic changes that takes place whenever a person is suffering from hepatic disease. So in this video, we'll be discussing about the dosage consideration that we need to consider whenever a person is suffering from hepatic disease. So drugs are often metabolized by one or more enzymes located in cellular membrane in different parts of the liver. And in metabolism, what happens? Active drug is converted into inactive drug, or else a prodrug is converted into active drug, or one active drug is getting converted into another active drug. Drugs and metabolites, they may also get excreted by biliary secretion. Liver also produces plasma proteins. But in liver disease, these metabolism of the drugs are greatly reduced. Even the drug excretion is also affected, causing accumulation of drugs. And you know what happens because of drug accumulation? Yes, the bioavailability of the drug increases provided the drugs are taken via the oral route. Liver is also responsible for synthesis of plasma protein, and when liver is not functioning well, then there will be a reduced level of these plasma protein, as a result of which there will be increased amount of free form of drugs are available for producing the action. Hepatic disease can alter drugs pharmacokinetics, including absorption and disposition, as well as pharmacodynamics, including safety and efficacy of a drug. This hepatic dysfunction can be disease induced. Disease such as cirrhosis and hepatitis infection may cause alteration in the liver function. So this liver dysfunction can be disease induced, or it can be induced because of hepatotoxicity, leading to the cause of acute liver failure. This liver disease may also act on the kidneys and it can cause inhibition of the kidney function, which can lead to accumulation of drug and its metabolite even when the liver is not the primary responsible for elimination. Next, dosage adjustment in hepatic disease is done depending upon or according to the severity of the hepatic disease, and the severity of this hepatic disease is determined by the hepatic clearance. But this estimation of hepatic clearance in patients with hepatic disease is very much difficult because of complexity and stratification of liver enzyme system. Therefore, in contrast, the creatinine clearance has been used successfully to measure kidney function and renal clearance of drugs. Apart from this, clinical laboratory test measures only a limited number of liver functions, and some of these clinical tests are: this is aspartate amino transferase, that is AST, and ALT, that is alanine aminotransferase. So these two tests are common serum enzyme tests that detect liver cell damage rather than the liver function. Other lab tests such as the serum bilirubin are being used to measure biliary obstruction or interference with bile flow. Presently, no single test accurately assesses the total liver function. Usually, a series of clinical laboratory tests are used in clinical practice to detect the presence of liver disease, distinguish among different types of liver disorders, gauge the extent of known liver damage, and follow the response to treatment. Next, we'll check out dosage consideration in hepatic disease. Several physiological and pharmacokinetic factors are relevant in considering dosage of a drug in patients with hepatic disease. So we'll check out few consideration in dosing patients with hepatic impairment. So first of all, nature and severity of liver disease. Not all liver diseases affect the pharmacokinetics of drugs to the same extent. Means like if there is acute hepatic dysfunction, then it will mildly reduce the drug clearance. But when the severity is more, means if the problem is a severe cirrhosis, means it will greatly reduce the drug clearance. Next, drug elimination. Drugs eliminated by the liver more than 20% are less likely to be affected by liver disease. Drugs that are eliminated mainly via renal route will be least affected by liver disease. Like means if a drug is hydrophilic in nature, means it will undergo negligible hepatic metabolism. They are directly eliminated out by renal route in unchanged form. So for such a drug, no problem occur in liver disease. Plus, suppose a drug is eliminated almost 20% eliminated via hepatic route. 20% eliminated via hepatic route means 80% eliminated via non-hepatic route. So in liver disease, just hepatic elimination is reduced, but other non-hepatic elimination will be working alright. So for such a drug that is eliminated just 20% via hepatic route and maximum 80% is been eliminated via non-hepatic route, so there won't be that much problem occurs in hepatic disease. Route of drug administration. Oral drug bioavailability may be increased in liver disease due to decreased first pass effects. Obviously, as such, any drug which is taken via oral route, they undergo first pass metabolism where majority of the drug is being metabolized, thereby reducing its bioavailability. Therefore, higher dose of the drug is recommended whenever you take any drug via oral route. But in liver disease, the first pass metabolism will be very much reduced, leading to increased bioavailability. Therefore, any person suffering from liver dysfunction, you need to reduce the dose of the drug. Next, protein binding. Drug protein binding may be altered due to alteration in hepatic synthesis of albumin. See, liver disease affects the quantitative and qualitative synthesis of not only albumin but globulin and other circulating plasma protein that subsequently affects the plasma drug binding protein and distribution. Hepatic blood flow. Drugs with flow dependent hepatic clearance will be more affected by change in hepatic flow. Drugs with flow dependent clearance are avoided if possible in patients with liver failure. When necessary, doses of the drugs may need to be reduced to as low as 1/10 of the conventional dose for an orally administered agent. Intrinsic clearance. Metabolism of drugs with high intrinsic clearance may be impaired. Next is biliary obstruction. Biliary excretion of some drugs and metabolites, particularly glucuronide metabolites, may be impaired. So compounds that form glucuronide, sulfate, glutathione and other substrates that involved in phase 2 metabolism may be depleted during hepatic impairment, potentially interrupting the normal path of the drug metabolism. Next, pharmacodynamic changes may also take place. So tissue sensitivity to drug may be altered, obviously because sometimes the plasma protein level has been reduced, because of which there will be increased amount of free form of the drug, or you can say active form of the drug, which may result in increased activity. Bioavailability has been increased of many drugs because of reduced first pass metabolism, which in turn will result in increased or extended pharmacological action. Next, therapeutic range. Drugs with a wide therapeutic range will be less affected by moderate hepatic impairment, obviously, because there will be more therapeutic window. But any drug which is having a very narrow therapeutic window, in these cases we need to alter the dose of the drug in patients with liver impairment. Next, we'll talk about the fraction of drug metabolized. Drug eliminated in the body may be divided into fraction of drug excreted unchanged, that is Fe, and fraction of drug metabolized, that is 1 minus Fe. Okay, so the drug is mainly eliminated via two routes, whatever we are considering over here. First one is via the renal route. Okay, renal route means the drug is excreted out unchanged, to which we are writing it as Fe. And secondly, the drug which is first of all metabolized in the liver and then excreted out, to which we are denoting it as 1 minus Fe. So any drug with a very high Fe means it is highly hydrophilic in nature, it is eliminated out unchanged form via the renal route. But any drug that is having very low Fe, low Fe is almost equivalent to 1 minus Fe, you can say. So these are the drugs which are highly lipophilic in nature, and they are eliminated, first of all getting metabolized and then excreted out of our body. Drug metabolized is equals to CLH divided by Cl, where CLH is hepatic clearance and Cl is total body clearance. Knowing the fraction of drug eliminated by the liver allows estimation of total body clearance when hepatic clearance is reduced. Drugs with low Fe value, or conversely drugs with a higher fraction of metabolized drug, are more affected by a change in liver function due to hepatic diseases. Because drugs with low Fe means they are highly lipophilic in nature, they has to be processed, they has to be biotransferred in the liver, and after that only they can get excreted out of our body. Next, we can write a new formula, CLH equals to Cl into 1 minus Fe. And how we got this formula means from this equation only. This Cl, total clearance, from the right hand side we have moved it to left hand side, and this drug metabolized. Drug metabolized means these are the drugs like this one. Drugs metabolized means fraction of drugs metabolized, which can also be written as 1 minus Fe. Okay, so this equation we got from this equation. Let it be equation number 1. And this equation assumes that drug metabolism occurs in the liver and the unchanged drug is excreted in the urine, obviously, because unchanged form means it is hydrophilic in nature and can be eliminated out without undergoing any kind of biotransformation. Assuming that there is no enzyme saturation and a drug exhibits linear kinetics, dosing adjustment may be based on residual hepatic function in patients with hepatic disease, as shown in the following example. We'll have a small example. The hepatic clearance of a drug in a patient is reduced by 50% due to chronic viral hepatitis. How is the total body clearance of the drug affected? What should be the new dose of the drug for the patient? Assume that renal clearance, that is Fe, is equals to 0.4 and plasma drug protein binding are not altered. Okay, so here basically we need to calculate the dose of the drug in a patient whose hepatic function has been reduced to 50%. Or hepatic clearance has been reduced to 50%, and we have a value of renal drug clearance, that is Fe. Now we'll solve it. The solution is like this. The residual liver function is estimated by this equation. RL is the residual function equals to CLH hepatitis divided by CLH normal. So this value means whatever these terms are there, will make sure we'll understand this in this blue box. So CLH hepatitis means it is the hepatic clearance of drug in patient with hepatitis, and CLH normal means hepatic clearance of drug in normal subjects. Okay, so CLH is the hepatic clearance. When you will get a Subscript of hepatitis means it is the hepatic clearance of drug in patients with hepatitis. CLH normal means hepatic clearance of drug in normal subjects. Okay, so the residual liver function is estimated by this equation. CLH hepatitis means hepatic clearance in hepatitis patient divided by hepatic clearance in a normal patient. Now CLH hepatitis is equals to CL into CLH normal. So we just took CLH hepatitis over here and normal from right hand side to the left hand side, just a simple cross multiplication. Now from the previous equation we have this thing, equation number 1, if you remember from the previous side. So CLH hepatitis is equals to RL CL normal into 1 minus FE. So what we did over here is, in place of this we use this equation, CLH is equals to CL normal into 1 minus FE. Fine. Now let it be equation number 2. Next, assuming no renal clearance deterioration due to hepatitis, so CL hepatitis is equals to CLH hepatitis plus CLR normal. Okay, so what we are assuming, there is no renal clearance deterioration. Renal clearance is working all right in a person suffering from hepatitis. Okay, so let it be equation number 3, and over here CLR normal. You know what does it means? It means renal clearance of drug in normal subjects. Now substituting equation 3 with equation 2, and we are using CL normal FE for CLR normal, obviously, because FE is the drug eliminated unchanged via the renal route. So in place of CLR we can use the term FE. So what will get? CLR normal means the total clearance of drug in normal subject, and FE means fraction of drug excreted unchanged, that is via the renal route. So here we will get CL hepatitis, that is from the equation number 3, is equals to CL RL into CL normal into 1 minus FE plus CL normal FE. So let it be equation number 4. So what we did over here is, in place of this we have written CLH hepatitis equals to this entire thing we have added. Okay, so in the equation number 3 we have inserted equation number 2 plus, in place of CLR normal we are using this thing, CL normal into FE. I hope you are getting these things. Next, 1 minus FE means fraction of drug metabolized in the liver, and CL hepatitis means total clearance of drug in patients with hepatitis. Now CL hepatitis is equals to CL normal, we took it common, into RL into 1 minus FE plus FE. Let it be equation number 5. Next, D hepatitis divided by D normal. Now what is this? D hepatitis means dose of drug in hepatitis patient, and D normal means doses of drug in normal liver function patient. It is equals to CL hepatitis divided by CL normal. Okay, so what we did here, just CL normal from right hand side we have moved it to left hand side. Okay, like this over here. Now this is whole equals to RL into 1 minus FE plus FE divided by 1. Okay, so let it be equation number 6, and this equation can be used to determine the dose. Okay, so you just remember this equation. Okay, no doubt I'll rewrite this thing. So what was our problem? What we need to calculate actually is this thing. We need to calculate the drug for the patient. Okay, so solution is we need to use this equation. Okay, for what we need to calculate the dose of the hepatitis patient, and what all data we have the RL, the residual liver function we have, that is 50%. So 50% we can write it as 0.5, and we have the value of FE as well, that is 0.4. So we'll add all these values over here and we'll get 0.7 or 70%. So the adjusted dose of the drug for the hepatic patient is 70% of that for the normal subject as a result of 50% decrease in hepatic function in the above case, and FE is 0.4. But this method should be applied only to drugs that have linear pharmacokinetics or low protein binding or that are non-restrictively bound. Many variables can complicate dose correction when binding profoundly affects distribution, elimination, and penetration of the drug to the active site. For drugs with restrictive binding, the fraction of free drug must be used to correct the change in free drug concentration and the change in free drug clearance. In some cases, the increase in free drug is partly offset by a larger volume of distribution resulting from the decrease in protein binding. Since there are many variables that complicate dose correction for patients with hepatic disease, dose correction is limited to drugs whose hepatic metabolism is approximated by linear pharmacokinetics. Next, we'll talk about active drug and metabolites. For many drugs, both drug and their metabolites, they both contribute to the overall therapeutic response of the drug to the patient. Therefore, the concentration of both the drugs and the metabolite in the body should be known. Next, we know that it is in the liver where the drug is converted into the metabolite, and when liver is not functioning well, then this conversion of drug into metabolite will be decreased. So in liver disease, you expect a high concentration of drug and a low concentration of its metabolite because the liver is unable to do this conversion of drug into the metabolite. When the pharmacokinetic parameter of the metabolite and the drug are similar, the overall activity of the drug can become more or less potent as a result of a change in liver function. That is, when the drug is more potent than the metabolite, the overall pharmacologic activity will increase in hepatic impaired patient because the parent drug concentration will be higher. Okay, so here the drug is more active than the metabolite, and you know what happens in liver dysfunction? The drug is unable to get converted into metabolite, therefore higher amount of drug, and the parent drug is more pharmacologically active, which may produce more pharmacological activity. And conversely, in opposite to that, when the drug is less potent than the metabolite, the overall pharmacological activity in the hepatic patient will decrease because of the less metabolite is formed. Okay, so here what happens? The drug is less active and the metabolite is more active. But in liver disease, drug conversion into metabolite is very much reduced. So reduced metabolite, and metabolite is actually producing the action, and when metabolite is less means pharmacological activity will also be reduced. Next, we'll talk about the hepatic blood flow and intrinsic clearance. So blood flow changes occur in patients with chronic liver disease. In patients with severe liver cirrhosis, even fibrosis of liver tissue may occur, resulting in intra or extrahepatic shunt. Hepatic arterial venous shunt may lead to reduced fraction of drug extraction, means decreased first pass metabolism, and when first pass metabolism is decreased, obviously bioavailability increases. The following equation may be applied to estimate hepatic clearance of a drug after assessing changes in blood flow and intrinsic clearance. So the equation is like this: CLH is equals to Q into CL intrinsic divided by Q plus CL intrinsic. And here CLH is nothing but the hepatic clearance, Q means the blood flow, obviously blood flowing to the liver, and CL int is nothing but the intrinsic clearance. Alternatively, when both Q and extraction ratio, that is ER, are known in the patient, clearance may also be estimated by this formula: CL equals to Q into ER. Since clearance depends upon the blood flow, that is Q, to the liver and efficacy of the liver to clear the drug from the blood. Next, we'll talk about the pathophysiologic assessment. So, in practice, the patient information about changes in hepatic blood flow may not be available because special electromagnetic and ultrasound techniques are required to measure blood flow and are not routinely available. Therefore, in such a situation, a clinician or a pharmacist may have to make an empirical estimate of the blood flow change after examining the patient and reviewing the available liver function test. There are various approaches have been used diagnostically to assess hepatic impairment, and one of that is the Child-Pugh classification or Child-Pugh scores. It assesses the overall hepatic impairment as mild, moderate or severe. This score mainly employs 5 clinical measures of the liver disease, including the total bilirubin, serum albumin, INH, that is international normalized ratio, ascites and hepatic encephalopathy. Some older references substitutes prothrombin time prolongation for INH. The pathophysiologic assessment. While chronic hepatic disease is more likely to change the metabolism of a drug, acute hepatitis due to hepatotoxin or viral inflammation is often associated with marginal or less severe changes in metabolic drug clearance. So, the clinician should make an assessment based on acceptable risk criteria on a case by case basis. In general, basic pharmacokinetics treats the body globally and more readily applies to dosing estimation. However, drug clearance based on individual eliminating organs is more informative and provides more insight into the pharmacokinetic changes in the disease process. A practical method for dosing hepatic impaired patient is still in the early stages of development. While the hepatic blood flow model is useful for predicting changes in hepatic clearance resulting from alteration in hepatic blood flow, that is QA and QV, extrahepatic changes can also influence pharmacokinetics in hepatic impaired patients. Global changes in distribution may occur outside the liver. Extrahepatic metabolism and other hemodynamic changes may also occur and can be accounted for more completely by monitoring total body clearance of the drug using basic pharmacokinetics. Okay. Next, we'll talk about few liver function tests and hepatic metabolic markers. The first means liver function test and hepatic metabolic markers. So the drug markers used to measure residual hepatic function may correlate well with hepatic clearance of one drug but correlate poorly with another substrates metabolized by a different enzyme within the same cytochrome P450 subfamily. So we'll check out these drug markers one by one. So these drug markers are mainly used to determine the how much liver is functioning, the residual hepatic function, how much functioning liver is left, is available. So first one is the aminotransferase. Aminotransferase, the normal ALT level is ALT is the alanine aminotransferase. So normal ALT in male is 10 to 55 unit per liter and female is 7 to 30 unit per liter. And normal AST level. AST is the aspartate aminotransferase enzyme. In male it is 10 to 40 and in female is 9 to 25 units per liter. So the aminotransferases are enzymes found in many tissues that include serum aspartate aminotransferase, that is AST, also known as SGOT, and alanine aminotransferase, that is ALT, before it was called SGPT. ALT in liver specific, but AST is found in liver and many other tissues including cardiac and skeletal muscles. Leakage of aminotransferases into the plasma is used as an indicator for many types of hepatic disease and hepatitis. The AST-ALT ratio is used in differential diagnosis. In acute liver injury, AST-ALT is equal to or less than 1, whereas in alcoholic hepatitis the AST-ALT level is more than 2. Next marker is alkaline phosphatase. Alkaline phosphatase normal level in male should be 45 to 115, whereas in female 30 to 100 units per liter. Like aminotransferase, alkaline phosphatase is normally present in many tissues, and it is also present in the canalicular domain of hepatocyte plasma membrane. Plasma alkaline phosphatase may be elevated in hepatic disease because of increased AP production and released into the serum. In cholestasis or bile flow obstruction, alkaline phosphatase release is facilitated by bile acid solubilization of the membrane. Marked alkaline phosphatase elevations may indicate hepatic tumors or biliary obstruction in the liver or disease in other tissues such as bone, placenta, or intestine. Our next marker is bilirubin. Its normal level should be normal total is 0 to 1 mg per deciliter, direct 0 to 0.4 mg per deciliter. Bilirubin consists of both a water soluble conjugated, that is direct fraction, and a lipid soluble unconjugated indirect fraction. The unconjugated form is bound to albumin and is therefore not filtered by the kidney, since impaired biliary excretion results in increased conjugated bilirubin. Hepatobiliary disease can result in increase in urinary bilirubin. Unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia results from either increased bilirubin production or defects in hepatic uptake or conjugation. Conjugated hyperbilirubinemia results from defects in hepatic excretion. Now our last marker is prothrombin time, and the normal prothrombin time should be 11.2 to 13.2 seconds. With the exception of factor number 8, all coagulation factors are synthesized by the liver. Therefore, hepatic disease can alter coagulation. Decrease in PT, that is prothrombin time, that is the rate of conversion of prothrombin to thrombin, are suggestive of acute or chronic liver function or biliary obstruction. Vitamin K is also important in coagulation. So vitamin K deficiency can also decrease the prothrombin time. Okay, so this was all about the markers that can be used to determine the residual liver function, and this was all for this video. I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you for watching.